And the fallout of the coronavirus pandemic continues to be felt in all spheres. Now in Palghar in Maharashtra, malnourishment, particularly of children in some areas, is a huge concern. With unemployment and rising poverty as a result of the COVID situation, there are children here who are horrifically underweight, which has long-term repercussions.
Umesh is 3 years old but weighs the same as a 1-year-old. At 8 kilos, he's underweight by 4 kilos or 33%, and his height is 84 centimetres, 6.6% less than ideal. With no schools, there are no midday government-sponsored meals for his 9-year-old brother.
तर लहान मुलाची काळजी घ्यायलाच लागेल असं वाटतं काय कधी मोठा होतो आणि कधी नाही चांगला बरा एक तर वजन त्याचा कमी ना त्याच्यामुळे
Rupesh and Rupali, 13-month-old twins, but their growth is stunted, underweight by nearly 40 to 44% and under height by 10 and 16% respectively. They only get to eat dry rice. They fall under the severe acute malnutrition category according to government guidelines.
आता पैसा राहतो तो कुठला भाजीपाला आणशील वा पैसा राहतो ताच ना भाजीपाला आणता हो हां खाते आहेत आता सुका देता तुम्ही खायला आता सुका
Taralpada in the Jawahar Taluka of Palghar district has an Adivasi population and most of them work as migrants in neighbouring Thane and Bhiwandi. Jai Taral has 8 members in her family, including her grandchildren. Her son used to work on construction sites but now has no work because of the lockdown. She now struggles to feed the family.
मेला तर गरीब माणसा काय भेटेल तर खायचं नाही तर मग काय उपास राहायचा मोठाले मग एक टाइम राहा वाटत ना मोठाले बारीकली मर नाही बारकला देता हूं.
According to the Women and Child Development Department, stunted growth and underweight children are a common occurrence in Palghar, one of Maharashtra's most backward areas. But the COVID-triggered lockdown has seen malnutrition rise by 2%, according to the Women and Child Development Department. In April 2020, there were a total of 2,399 children who suffered from severe and moderate acute malnutrition in Palghar. In June 2020, that number had risen to 2,459, an increase of 2.5%. In the Jawahar Taluka, in April 2020, there were 600 children suffering from moderate acute malnutrition. In June 2020, that number rose to 682, an increase of 13.2%. In the same taluka, April 2020 saw 78 cases of severe acute malnutrition. By June 2020, the number had gone up to 94, an increase of 19%. But the government says they are feeding them. Yashomati Thakur, Minister for Women and Child Development, says, quote, "People came back from different places and that's why we are seeing a slight increase, 1% or 2, but we have been feeding them food," unquote. However, villagers complain that the 2 kilos of grain they get per person for a month is not enough.
आता 2-3 किलो आणशील तर त्या 3 टाइम कसा पुरल द्या मग ती मागे कोडकते आणि ओरे त्या 3 टाइम भाजी करा तर कोड पुरत है.
Children in Jawahar are undernourished mainly because they do not have access to a proper meal. Their parents, who are mostly migrants, are still struggling to find a job and in turn are struggling to feed their children. And if this situation continues, then the health of the population here will fast deteriorate. In Jawahar, with camera person Praveen Ji Rohit, this is Purva Chitnis for NDTV.